Hello there. My name is Brett Haley, and I'm the writer and director of Hearts Beat Loud, the movie you're about to see. Just a little note for all of you to stick around after the screening. We'll be doing a pre-recorded Skype Q&A where you can learn all sorts of fun facts about Hearts Beat Loud, the music video you saw, Holding On, and what I'm up to next. Anyway, thanks for coming, and I hope you enjoy the film.
Where I sort of want to start, of course, is for Hearts Beat Loud. This is your fourth amazing feature film. I've been such a fan of your work after the new year, and I'll see you in my dreams and the hero. I especially remember seeing I'll see you in my dreams. In the theater a couple of years ago, and just like, oh wow, who is this guy? I'm going to be following his career, and then you come up with this beautiful movie that's been so loved by audiences. But just tell me first about where the idea came from. I know you wrote it with a writing partner, Mark, but yeah, just talk about like the genesis and bringing Hearts Beat Loud to the big screen.
Well, I mean, as a filmmaker or a storyteller, you probably get asked that more than anything.
Yeah,
How did you get this idea? And the answer is, I don't know.
good.
The answer is it's sort of a larger question of where do ideas come from, and it's like
Exactly.
I don't have the answer. I wish I did.
Good.
I think a lot of movies come from the place of true stories or real life, and this, like all my films, did not come from any sort of true life inspiration. It just hit me one day, and I told Mark about it, my co-writer, and I said, I want to do a band movie, and I want it to be about a father and a daughter that start a band, and I think there's something there. I'm not sure what, but what do you think? And then we just
Hmm.
started developing the idea and the themes. I'm really theme driven, and I was like, well, what is this about? And it was about, the lost dreams, and about reality, and
Hmm.
and what it means to move on in different sort of transitional periods that I think we all face.
Hmm.
And of course, it was a sort of a musical, sort of using music to tell
Hmm.
the larger story. So I think all of those things really appealed to me, and felt like something that I wanted to kind of play in that sandbox. And so we just worked on it, and we
Yeah.
worked on it with Nick Offerman in mind for the lead, and Hearts Beat Loud was kind of born from that.
That's wonderful, and I do want to talk about like the cast in the film. I think that it's obviously one of the most wonderful things about the movie. Of course, having Kirstie Clemens and Nick together is just such a beautiful pairing. What was it like, just sort of working with them on set and just seeing their camaraderie together?
Well, I mean, they're obviously incredible. And I
Hmm.
mean, 90% of my job is to cast the right people. And I
Hmm.
think it's safe to say that I cast the right people in this one. You never know how it's going to
Hmm.
be on set. You never know how the chemistry is going to be. And I just got very lucky that Nick and Kiersey got along really well and had that sort of natural father daughter thing that
Hmm.
I was after. And they're just incredibly talented, giving, warm, great people to be around. And,
Yeah.
and I think they both just put the movie first, and we got lucky. We got lucky that it worked out. But like I say, it's a crapshoot. It was just a feeling that I had that those two kind of belong together on screen.
Great. And one of my favorite elements of the movie was getting to see Ted Danson on screen, and he was just such a lot of fun to watch. And of course, I've been a big fan of Cheers growing up, as I'm sure you were as well. How was it like working with him on set? And because that was a lot, it was a lot of fun to see him in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Ted Danson fan, and I don't know anybody who's really not. And I think the idea of putting him behind a bar was sort of like, well, should we? Is this too much? Is this
Hmm.
is it silly? And I thought, no, it's kind of fun. I think it's really fun and joyful. And what I wanted from this movie was a feeling of joy and a feeling of warmth and happiness and all those things, and love and emotion. And I just felt like that was another sort of something that I would have wanted to see as a fan of his. See him play this stoner guy when in sort of Hawaiian shirts and sandals, and Ted is just a generous, loving
Hmm.
soul and an amazing actor. And he only worked on the movie for 2 days, but it was
Yeah.
the first 2 days of
Oh,
the
wow.
movie, and it was really fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now I'm really into film festival screenings. Of course, this showed originally the closing night movie of Sundance, went on to South by Southwest. Tell me about your just experiences of showing the movie in film festivals, because I'm a real big thing about the theatrical experience. Like, what have your favorite reactions been like, and what are some of the most interesting stories you've had with showing Hearts Beat Loud?
Well, I mean, the film in general, people seem to generally like it. I mean, not everybody is gonna like your movie, but I think in general, I think it plays really wonderfully to a big audience. It's
Hmm.
a movie that plays better in, I think, a theater than on your computer. Um, and so, when we did Sundance and I think we did so many screenings at Sundance because we were the closing night film. We did a lot of press and volunteer screenings and
Hmm.
industry screenings. So there was a lot of different sort of reactions. And then we got a standing ovation at Sundance, which is always a really big deal. And it felt really great and
Hmm.
warm. And South by was one of our best screenings. Just it had again a lot of warmth, and the film has won some audience awards at festivals, which means the world to me. And I mean,
Hmm.
the movie is not it's not reinventing the wheel. It's not trying to. It's not trying to
Hmm.
sort of tell you something that you don't know. I think it's about sort of connecting emotionally and representing people in a way that maybe is fresh and new and just a good overall kind of thing, and the music that makes you feel good. And I mean, the goal was to make people feel good, and I needed it. I needed to
Hmm.
make this movie. I needed to
Yeah.
feel better about humanity.
Hmm.
So I hope that's the effect of the film.
I think it's that absolutely happened. And another thing I really loved about the movie, something that really stuck with me, because I see this very rarely in films where it has really great representation. Like, I really loved how like Percy and Sasha in the movie, like, they both are queer people, but the movie never really makes like a big comment on that. It just kind of is. And the way that it's sort of like a multiracial family is also not really like even brought up anywhere in the movie. It just kind of is.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. And I think that most people who are living in a biracial family, or who are queer, or in a queer
Hmm.
relationship or gay relationship, or who are trans, it isn't some revelation every day. It's their existing and being human beings and going about their day and having to get groceries and
Hmm.
fall in love and deal
Yeah,
with their parents or
yeah.
what have you.
Hmm.
It's not an issue. It's just life.
Hmm.
And I think the more that I can use this platform and my privilege to tell these types of stories without any sort of slant, without any sort of judgment or hate waiting around the corner for them, or the fact that there should be shame associated with this,
Hmm.
because I think that media often represents it that way, that there's some sort of shame or some sort of judgment or accusations or whatever waiting around the corner for people who are different, who are not white and straight.
Hmm.
And I just don't think that's positive, and I don't think that's real life. I don't think it represents real life. I don't think it represents the way most of us think. And so it's an opportunity for me, who is essentially a white straight man, to give an opportunity to have other stories and have other types of people in my films that normally maybe wouldn't be there. It
Hmm.
would be very easy to make Sasha's character a boy, to make Kiersey's character a white girl, and makes very similar movie. Um, but why? I mean, it's like, why just do that? Like, I'm always asking the question, how can I help the representation conversation? If I'm the person behind the camera, then I really feel like it's my duty to try at least to represent some things. And then I don't have the authority to tell the stories, certain stories, right, that are associated with this. But I do think representing them without sort of judgment is a great way to do it. And I really listened to Kiersey and Sasha, who both identify as queer, on how they wanted that to be represented. Mark and I sat with them and looked at the scenes and said, "What do you guys think?" And really, the overwhelming thing that we heard was, "We just want to be two kids in love. Can you just let us be two kids in love?" And I said, "Yep, let's do that." That was sort of what we went with. So I hope that it's refreshing for people, and I hope that it's. I know that certain people who've seen the film have an immediate sort of, it really makes them feel great to see that representation on screen.
Absolutely. And another thing that I thought was just beautiful about the movie, of course, getting to show this on the big screen, the importance of the theatrical experience. I love the look and design of the movie, and not to get too technical for my audience, but I immediately noticed you shot in the 2:1 aspect ratio. Like, just, it's not exactly CinemaScope, it's not exactly the 1:8:5 flat format. Why don't you maybe just talk about that a little bit, and also just like the cinematography and the look and design of the film?
Yeah, I mean, the 200 was interesting, and it was the first time I've tried that. And I think it's becoming more of a generally used aspect ratio. Especially, I think it looks great on TVs and it looks great on phones, and it looks kind of the same as 1:8:5 in a theater. You see a little bit of black at the top. It's not really that different, but really, for me, it was something of, I thought it looked great in. For when this does go, it's sort of the opposite of the big screen thing. I'm like, oh, when this does go to iTunes or Hulu or Netflix or whatever it may be, I think it looks really great. I saw 20th Century Women shot on it, and I love that movie. And I was like, oh, what is that? And I was talking to my DP, like, what is that aspect ratio? And we did a bunch of research on it, and I was like, let's try that, because I didn't want 1:8:5 and I didn't want the scope. I felt it didn't really fit the movie, so we went in that middle range. And I think, in terms of the design of the film, it's colorful would be the best way to describe it. I wanted lots of bright colors, I wanted that sort of feeling of the music and the colors coming at you and the warmth. And the film, to me, didn't call for a lot of visual trickery or design. It felt pretty straightforward. I wanted it to feel honest and real and grounded. So the design and the way we shot it was all very much, in the real here and now world. But in theory, I think the color is really the story of the film. If you think about that shot of Kiersey and Sasha in bed, it's just full of color in the bedspread and the pillows and what they're wearing. I love that.
It's wonderful. And we should talk about, the soundtrack as well. I mean, you can get the soundtrack right now, but how much fun was it to just... It was probably a lot of work and pretty difficult to do, but just to film those songs, not just in the studio, but in the record store scene, I thought was brilliant.
Well, it was hard. We did all the vocals live. So, I mean, it wasn't, it was when Kiersey's singing, she's really singing in the moment there. Yeah. And same with Nick and saying, so that's a huge challenge. And, we shot this movie in 18 or 19 days. And so we didn't have any time to really do all that much. And so we just had to try to get it as best as we could and make sure Kiersey was performing the songs vocally well. And then also that we were telling a story. Each of those songs tells part of the story. There's other stuff happening besides just pulling off the song. There's emotional stuff happening between the characters. So you got to keep that in the back of your mind while you're shooting it as well. It was fun, but it was certainly a challenge. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was hard. Yeah. It was a big challenge.
Was editing and post-production, was that difficult for you, or was that something that was easy to put together?
Everything in movies is hard. So anyone who tells you it was really easy is lying.
I agree.
Everything is hard. Everything is a struggle to try to figure out the best way to tell the story. So we did have to do a very quick post schedule on this, because we wrapped at the end of August, and I had to submit a cut to Sundance by the end of September. So it was fast, but it was hard. As it always is.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, this is your fourth feature film. Are you working on a fifth one right now? I overheard at South by you had a big movie planned. I'd love to Anything you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, well, it just got announced yesterday that I'm making an adaptation of the book All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. Liz Hannah, who wrote the Post, wrote the screenplay for this film, and it stars Elle Fanning and Justice Smith, who's in The Get Down and the new Jurassic World. Really amazing story. Really kind of phenomenal young love romance, and I'm really excited about it. So it looks like we're going to be shooting that this fall. So
we'll keep an eye out for it. You have a spot in our film series if you want to show it, so you can totally do that. Yeah, and of course, one of my sort of more final questions is, of course, before the film we showed your outstanding, I call it a short film. It's much more than a music video, Holding On. Featuring the war on drugs. It's one of my all-time favorite videos. I mean, when I saw it I saw it a couple of weeks ago, so I was like, I really want to show something amazing.
Well, yeah, that yeah, I mean, I think it could be described as a short film, but it is a music video, and for the war on drugs, which is a band that I adore, and that video came to me in a very strange way. Kristen Ritter had kind of a germ of an idea for that video, and she dates Adam, who's the lead singer of The War on Drugs, and she said, Brett, I think you'd be good for this, and Kristen was in The Hero, so she texted me, hey, will you look at this, and we sort of worked on it together and fleshed out the idea, and then I thought of getting, a great actor in that role, and trying it out, and we went upstate. We shot it in 2 days, and it was a really fun and beautiful experience. And I think hopefully it emotionally has resonance, even though it's like a 5-minute video. I think it tells a story, and it has a theme, and it's something that I relate to. I think everybody can relate to. It has sort of a beginning, middle, and an end. It's about loss. It's about grief. It's about getting back out there in the world. And I love the song. I love the band, and I appreciate you showing it because it's one of the favorite. I think it's always hard when you look at your own work and you're like, oh, that's a little flawed, or I didn't like that. That's probably the only thing that I've made that I'm like, yep, that I really like that. So I do really love that video, and I'm very proud of it. So I appreciate you showing it, and I hope the audience there enjoyed it as well.
Wonderful. Now, I see a Jaws poster in the background right there.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite movie, or do you have like an all-time favorite?
It's one of them. That is a original 1975 print of like the actual in-theater poster. So it's a beautiful prized possession of mine. My wife and her family gave it to me for Christmas, and it's I love it. So it's probably on display. But also over here, is one of my favorite movies. I don't know if you can see it, but that's a Day for Night poster.
Is that an
original
1972? Yeah.
And that's probably one of my favorite movies ever as well. So I'm beginning a wife-approved original movie poster selections. But I mean, there's too many movies to name, but certainly Jaws is up there as one of the best movies ever, 100%.
Cool. Where can people find you online, social media and stuff? They want to follow your cinematic adventures, Brett.
Well, I'm on a break from Instagram. It might be a permanent break.
Yeah.
We'll see. But I am on Twitter currently. We'll see if that lasts. The social media climate is really intense right now.
Yeah.
And it's very distracting. And usually when I'm working on a film, which I'm about to start working on a film, I kind of take a break. So if I'm not on there, that's why. Maybe I'll be back. Maybe I won't. But it's Brett G. Haley, and at Brett G. Haley is my Twitter handle. I'm on there now. You can find out all sorts of fun things about Hearts Beat Loud, and then, of course, about the new movie, All the Bright Places. We're getting ramped up right now. So, but in theory, I think it might be a good idea for us all to take a little bit of a breather from social media for a little bit and try the old IRL, as the kids say, the in real life connections. Those are always better.
Those are great.
Yeah, well, face to face always is a little bit better and a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
In what social media can bring out. So it's sort of a dark time, and every time I check the Twitter timeline, I'm going, oh man, I shouldn't have even clicked on here.
Well, I mean, if you're ever in Victoria, BC, you know, you all are always welcome at our film series. Would love to have you as an in-person guest, but I really appreciate, yeah, you taking the time on Skype. This is going to look amazing on the big screen. It's going to look phenomenal with the whole experience and everything. So I really, this is really cool that you did this, man. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for screening the film and the music video, and yeah, thanks for everything.